Okay, fine. Okay, so we'll start with the unit 2, and this is on internal combustion engines. And we have the integrated lab attached to this applied thermodynamics course. So where we will be performing a couple of experiments on the internal combustion engines and some of the table experiments where some of the oil or properties of the fuel which you are going to check it actually. Okay, that's how it is actually. That's why we have brought in this internal combustion engine. Okay, when you look at the syllabus, what we have is actually we have only the four-stroke engines. We are not looking at any two-stroke engines. We are looking at the four-stroke IC engine. So then combustion of this IC engine, both in SI as well as CI engine. Then there are certain unwanted phenomena which is going to happen whenever there is a combustion in your IC engines actually. So those are knocking and detonation, and we'll try to do some performance analysis of these IC engines. So this performance analysis of IC engines is very much required actually. Say I want to check for this IC engine, check for its thermal efficiency, specs for its fuel consumption, all those things actually. There are certain tests where we are going to find the indicated power and all, and where we find the frictional power. So Williams line method, one method is there, and then we'll try to understand what exactly heat balance actually. So what are the energy that is supplied to the engine, how much it is consumed by converting it to brake power, and how much is unaccounted or how much is taken away in the form of exhaust gases or in the form of taken away by the cooling water, or all those things we'll try to look in actually. So this is the whole syllabus. So roughly around 5 to 6 hours, maybe around 3 to 4 hours. I'll try to concentrate on theory. Maybe an hour, 1 hour or two. I'll try 1 or 2 hours. I'll try to concentrate on the solving some numericals. Okay. So the moment I tell that it's a four-stroke IC engine, so what that comes to your mind actually? So four-stroke IC engine means actually we do have, so the four-stroke which you have studied in your elements of mechanical engineering, most of you, a four-stroke IC engine. What exactly is it actually? So that means, so if I try to represent it on a PV diagram, let me put a simple PV diagram and try to understand. Okay, it's it need not be any kind of a cycle. So I'm going to draw usually the auto cycle. So that's the best possible thing. As I told, there is something called as a suction stroke. What will happen? So the pressure, so if I call this as 0, 0 to 1. So the pressure will fall below the, slightly below the atmosphere. So there is a small delta P is created at the entry to the your IC engine. So the air is sucked. Okay. If it is a purely a, CI engine, the air is sucked actually. Okay, but in case of your SI engine, so both air and fuel mixture is sucked actually. So that's how the compression. This is how the suction will do. So this is purely a suction. Okay. Then what will happen? I need to compress it to a particular pressure. So from one, I will go to a particular point. So this is my, so compression process. Okay, it's a compression process. Usually this will be an isentropic process. So usually this will be an isentropic process. So once the compression process is happened, so I need to burn the fuel. Okay, so if it is a SI engine, so what I'm going to do, I need to ignite with a what is called as a maybe a spark ignition. So I need to provide a spark, so that because the compression temperature is not just sufficient to self ignite. So that's the case of your IC, maybe your auto cycle engine or your petrol engine. But what happens in case of a CI engine? The compression ratio itself is very, very high. So we go to up to around 20, 24, 18 to 24 and all. So the compression itself just sufficient for the fuel to ignite. So I don't need any external thing. What we are going to do actually, so in case of a SI engine, I'm going to input either fuel and air mixture. So we call it as air fuel mixture. Okay, that is compressed. But in case of a CA engine, only air is sucked from the atmosphere and it is compressed to a very high pressure. So it is compressed to a very high pressure. Then at the end, at the exit of maybe at the end of your compression process, I'm going to inject the fuel. So we'll call it the injection of the fuel. So diesel is sprayed. Okay, diesel is sprayed actually. So when the diesel is sprayed, what will happen? The temperature at the end of the compressor is sufficient to ignite the fuel. I will have the combustion process. So in case of a SI engine, what will happen? It will be simply a compression. It will be a constant volume process. So this is how the ignition will take place, and I'm going to have the heat supply. So what will happen if it is maybe a CI engine? So if from 2 itself, I will go towards right hand side. That is, it's a constant pressure heat addition. Okay, this is how the heat addition takes place. So even though, see this compression ratio, what I'm trying to show, this compression ratio in case of a CA engine is much higher compared to your SI engine. So compression in a CA engine will be around 18 to 24, what I told, but for a CA engine it will be around 8 to 10 or 12, so maximum of 12. So I can't have more compression in case of a CI engine, sorry, in case of a SI engine. Okay, once you have this compression, maybe heat addition process, so I need to expand it. What will happen? The burnt gases will try to expand it. Okay, so burnt gases will try to expand, and so this is what is happened. That is, this is a purely an expansion process. So then I'm going to have what is called as your heat rejection process. Okay, this is purely an expansion process. What will happen if I have a piston and all? So if I have a, say for example, I have a cylinder piston arrangement, what will happen? So this is my cylinder, okay, so cylinder, piston cylinder arrangement. Then I have a, see if the piston is at the top, okay, so this is my top dead center. Then I have bottom dead center. So this is where I have the bottom dead center. So piston will be moving from TDC to BDC. Piston will be moving from TDC to BDC. So what is suction actually? So suction is when this particular point from 0 to 1 it moves actually. So 0 to 1 it moves. So I do have the suction process. Then have the compression process. So 0 to 1. So there is a slide, sorry, 0 to 1. So when it is coming down, so it is sucked. Then it will go up compression. Then I'll have the heat addition, okay, heat addition, and then there's an expansion, then I will have an exhaust. So heat rejection or exhaust. Okay, so this is how your 4-stroke petrol engine will work. Okay, now, so what will happen in a conventional IC engines? Okay, in a conventional IC engine, so what I have actually in a conventional SI engine, in a conventional SI engine, what will I have actually? I will have the fuel and air mixture. Okay, the fuel and air mixture is mixed together, where it is actually in the, maybe we do have a carburetor or some kind of an intake system. So fuel and air mixture is mixed in an intake system. So you can have a carburetor or whatever it may be, and it is sent to the cylinder. Okay, where it is going to see what will happen actually. This is compressed, then we'll have the combustion, all those things. Okay, so now if I try to put it on a maybe what we call it as a crank angle versus cylinder pressure diagram. Okay, crank angle versus cylinder piston diagram, and what happens in a SI engine. So I'll be having the crank angle on the x-axis. Okay, so crank angle on the x-axis, maybe I have the at the center, so this is at 0, so I may be having some positive angle this side, or I can have some negative, whatever it may be, crank angle. Then if I have the pressure on the y-axis, okay, this is your pressure on the y-axis. So what will happen here actually? So the pressure will go to the particular point. So exactly when the spark is ignited, maybe at around 70 degrees or 60 degrees and all. So your peak will come to this particular point and it will go something like this. Okay, so this is where you have your spark ignition. Spark ignition. Spark ignition is done. So this is where it is compressed. Okay, and this is where it is going to expand. So compression, expansion. So what will happen? It will the peak pressure will achieve somewhere it is achieved here. So we may be having around 3 megapascals or somewhere around 25 to 30 bar. So 25 to 30 bar is the pressure which is achieved in case of a spark ignition engine. Okay, in a SI engine, so this is the pressure it's going to reach. So maybe this may be if I take this as a reference as P atmosphere, maybe around 1 bar or 1.0132 bar. So this is what I'm going to achieve. Okay. So this is about your spark ignition. So we'll try. This is how the P theta diagram. We call it as a P theta diagram for an SI engine. Now, so when we try to look at the any kind of this IC engines, so any kind of this IC engines and all, so performance measurement is one such particular thing which is very important. Okay, so performance measurement of this IC engines. So we'll try to look into the CIG in the next class. So performance parameters of this IC engines is very important. Okay, so performance parameters of any IC engine, which is very important. So whenever I try to do any test on the IC engine, these are the performance parameters. So one such parameter is your mechanical efficiency. Okay, one such parameter is your mechanical efficiency. Mechanical efficiency. So what is it actually? So mechanical efficiency is the ratio of your output power, that is the power available at the shaft. So we call that as brake power or power available at the shaft. Power available at the shaft. What you can measure using a dynamometer and all, that is called as a brake power. Two, so indicated power. So indicated power or energy you are going to supply. So energy that is supplied. Okay. So what is this actually? See, what is the if you go back and see any of the mechanics of machines syllabus, maybe this thing. What is your power? Power is nothing but rate of doing work. Okay, power is nothing but rate of doing work, and it's nothing but it's a product of your force into some linear velocity or distance, which we all know in Newton meter or something. You have that actually. Then, or it's also maybe sometimes the power is also your torque into. So power is defined by. See, if I try to look into this actually, the brake power. The brake power. It is nothing but the torque applied on any rotating machine multiplied by its angular velocity. This you might have studied in your DOM or something. Angular velocity. Okay, that is T into omega. Okay, this is my torque into your omega. So omega is nothing but is given by 2 pi n by 60. So that's why your brake power is given by this particular formula, that is 2 pi n t by 60. So many kilowatts or watts or megawatts, whatever it is. Okay. Now torque is nothing but, see, torque is nothing but P is the torque which has a unit Newton meter. Okay. Now, if I try to see this torque is found using different kinds of maybe measuring instrument. if I try to use a rope brake drum dynamometer, okay, rope brake drum dynamometer, what we have in our internal combustion, maybe in our lab and all, what we have is actually, so one particular thing is actually what we have is, so we are going to have a drum. So on that we are going to put the rope, and we are going to add some weight actually. So we're going to add some weight on either side so that it is properly balanced. So we call that as the net load that is applied on that particular thing. And the rope brim dynamometer, that is internal diameter, okay, or the radius. So what we have is it is something like this. So we will be having, this is my, so this is my drum, okay, this is my drum. So I am going to add some weight to it, okay. I am going to add some weight. If this is my W1, this is my W2. So the net weight will be W1 minus, so W net will be W1 minus W2. So it has certain radius, say from the center, so it has some radius R. So what will be your torque actually in that case? Your torque will be the net weight multiplied by the radius of that particular drum I'm going to. So this is one method of, so using a rope brake drum dynamometer. This is one kind of methodology what we have in our lab, and this is one of the old method which has been followed every time. And there is another method, say, where we have what is called as, see, inductance type of dynamometer, that is inductive dynamometer. So here what we are going to do actually, we will use the electrical energy. So we will have the, so maybe here, so the torque will be directly given by the voltage applied into current. So what we will be doing is we will be having some of the maybe temporary magnets. So temporary magnets which are wound around your maybe the shaft actually. So if you try to put a certain amount of magnets, certain amount of load is applied. Okay, so we are going to apply the load based on the inductance. So that is electrical inductance, and directly it is proportional to the what is the product of your voltage and current. I'll be able to get the torque actually. So inductance type of dynamometers also used, or rope brim dynamometers used. So these are the two types of dynamometers which is most of the very extensively used in most of the performance testing IC engines. In IC performance testing, we can use this particular thing and find the torque, and how to find the speed actually. So you can use a digital speedometer, or you can use the manual speedometer and try to measure the speed of it, and you will be able to find the brake power. So that's how the brake power is measured. Okay, now I told that indicated power. Okay, so what is this indicated power? So this is the brake power. Okay, indicated power. See, indicated power, so it's given by a particular formula. Actually, what it is actually, so if you take this piston, so if you take this piston, so I'm going to get this pressure. I told that I'm going to get the peak pressure. At the same time, so I can get a mean of this particular thing. Okay, we call that as mean pressure. It's an average pressure along the crank from 0 to maybe 362 times, so 720 degree. What I'm going to get a mean pressure. Then in this piston actually, this is called as stroke length. Stroke length, okay, which is L between your TDC and BDC. That is the maybe what we call it as swept volume or something. Okay, I need to consider that particular volume. So stroke length into that cross sectional area. So this is the diameter of the piston. So what will be the area will be pi d square by 4. So I'll be having that particular parameter, that is your length into area of the piston multiplied by your speed. So sometimes what we call it as, so rotational speed of the engine. Okay, so for a 4-stroke, what will happen? I am trying to generate the power for every two strokes of this particular piston. So in that case, what will happen? So your N will be actually what we call it as actually rotational speed of the engine will be half the time of what we are trying to measure it actually. Okay, the formula for that particular indicated power is given by IP is equal to PM, that is the mean effective pressure or mean pressure, L into N. Okay, so LAN by 60. At the same time, there is one more thing. If I have more than one cylinder, okay, if I have more than one cylinder, I can add multiplied by I, where I is the number of cylinders. Okay, so here PM is the mean effective pressure. Mean effective pressure. So usually this is as a unit of Newton per meter square. Okay, where L is the stroke length. L is the stroke length in meters. A is the cross sectional area of the piston. Okay, this will be in meter square. Then N is the rotational speed. N is the rotational speed of the engine. Okay, and for a 4-stroke engine, this N will be, see, if I call this as a small, let me call this as a small n. Okay, this is called as a small n. This N will be of the, see, this N will be what you are trying to measure using a speedometer. Okay, for N is equal to N by 2 for a 4-stroke engine, because I am trying to develop the power for every alternate strokes. Okay, for every alternate stroke I am trying to measure it actually. So this is how, this already you have studied in your EME, so we are trying to going to study do the same thing. What is I actually? I is the number of cylinders if there is exist. If there is 4-cylinder, if there is 5-cylinder and all those things we will try to look into it. Okay. Now, if it is a 1-cylinder, it doesn't matter. So PM LAN by 60 is one particular thing. And also your IP is also given by, sometimes what we try to do is actually, so IP is also given by this particular formula. So IP is also given by mass of fuel into its calorific value. Okay, this formula is also used actually, where M dot F, this is nothing but mass flow rate of fuel, mass flow rate of fuel, and CV is the calorific value of the fuel. Okay, so now IP can be found from the mean effective pressure LAN by 60 or whatever that formula is also I can use using the mean effective pressure, or if I know the what is the mass flow rate of the fuel that is supplied, then if I know the calorific value of the fuel, I can still find the, so this is the energy supplied. So this is nothing but heat supplied, which is also equal to the indicated power. Sometimes if you don't have any other option, we'll try to use that also. So if you try to take the ratio of your brake power to your indicated power, I'll be able to calculate the what is called as your mechanical efficiency. Is that clear? Now, so there is something called as specific fuel consumption, all those things and all. Specific, okay, specific fuel consumption or specific output we call it as. Okay, so specific power output, specific power output. So that is the second term. Specific power output. Okay. See what it is actually, it is the brake power output per unit of the piston displacement. Okay. Specific output is nothing but it is defined as defined as the ratio of, okay, the brake power output, the brake power per unit of piston displacement, per unit of piston displacement. Okay. So what is it actually? If I try to write it mathematically, it is specific output is equal to your brake power divided by what is your piston displacement? L into A, where L is the stroke volume. Okay, so L is the stroke length and area is the cross section area. So A into L or L into A. Okay, and see most of the time this particular specific output consists of two elements. So sometimes we may be having what is called as mean effective pressure, which is based on brake mean effective pressure. Okay, and also there is a speed. So this is also given by specific output is also given by some other formula, that is, so we need to know what is called as the mean effective pressure based on brake power. So mean effective power based on brake power multiplied by its speed, and they have found that there is a constant attached to it. So this is very rarely used formula. Okay, this is a rarely used formula, but specific output is given by brake power divided by your maybe the what is the piston displacement or something. Okay, so what is the use of it actually? So if you try to look at it actually, what is specific output? See, if I try to increase, if I want to increase the specific output for any engine, okay. So what exactly? If I want to increase the brake power for a given piston displacement, so L and A is fixed. So if I want to increase, if there is an increase in the brake power, the specific output also will increase. So for a given, see, if the piston displacement is increased, that is if the denominator is bigger. So what is the thing actually? I need to achieve a bigger brake power using a smaller displacement, piston displacement, a smaller piston displacement. I need to have a smaller engine. So then only I'll be able to get a more power output. So increasing the speed. See here, so how this can be achieved actually? If you go and look into most of the IC engines, if you try to look into the most of the IC engines research and all, so one methodology which has been found where I can increase the specific output is increasing the speed of the engine. We call it as revolutions. Okay, increasing the speed involves increase in your what exactly. So whenever we try to increase the speed, what is the major problem we try to face is actually the mechanical stresses. Say if the engine is running at some 8,000 rpm or 10,000 rpm, I want to double the speed actually. So the mechanical stresses and the thermal stresses involved in most of these IC engines will increase like anything. Almost they will increase proportionately. So this will have an impact on your pressure actually. What is the pressure? Because it has to go to a peak. So the pressure will go to the peak. Instead of going to 25 to 30 bar, it may go to 35 to 40 bar, which will have an impact on the IC engine. So there every possibility of the engine become weak. So that's why if you want to increase the specific output, you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful. Simply increasing the speed doesn't mean that I want to increase the specific volume or specific output of that particular engine. Okay. So the next third one, what we try to look at is the performance of the engine is the volumetric efficiency. The volumetric efficiency. So what is it actually? See, your volumetric efficiency depends on, see, whenever I try to, what is the volume of fuel or volume of the uh, fuel air mixture that is handled by your engine to its depending on what exactly its capacity. Okay, what is its cylinder capacity? So that's actually your volumetric efficiency. So your volumetric efficiency is nothing but your volumetric efficiency is nothing but your mass of the fuel or charge, mass of the, we call it as charge actually. So either is air or fuel, this thing, the mass of the charge uh, actually sucked by the engine, sucked by the engine. So actually sucked by the engine in, actually sucked in by the engine, sucked in by the engine. So if I take any engine, how much of the volume of the fuel air mixture or only the air I have the capacity to suck in. So what is that is sucked in to the ratio. So denominator, what it's actually mass of the sea. There is something called as, it has something called as cylinder intake pressure is there. If you go back and see here, if you go back and look into this particular PV diagram, see it has some capacity. See, this is nothing but your P and T. See, I have the capacity to suck more air, which is slightly below atmospheric pressure. But actually, the sucking is happening at this particular point 1. But actually, sucking should have happened at point 0. If I would have sucked the air at a lower pressure, the volume of the air or fuel air mixture that has gone into the cylinder would have been more compared to what it is actually sucking at the point 1. Okay, that means there is a mass of the fuel or charge corresponding to, so there is a mass of the charge which can be fuel or which can fuel air mixture corresponding to, this is the maximum, corresponding to the cylinder intake, corresponding to the cylinder intake, so which can be a particular pressure and temperature conditions. Okay, what it would have sucked the more, so it would have sucked the more amount of air or more amount of air fuel mixture compared to what exactly it's trying to suck in. So usually this volumetric efficiency will be in and around 90, 95% or 96 or 97% for a new engines. So over a period of time, this volumetric efficiency will slowly go down to around 90. So it can go up to 88% and all. So the capacity of the engine to handle its more amount of fuel air mixture to its original capacity. And usually this particular what we have no at the numerator, whatever we have, this is also called as, it's a swept volume. So this is nothing but when the piston moves from your top dead center to bottom dead center, what is the amount of air or air fuel mixture it's going to suck. So that's exactly, that is the point actually. That is the mass of the air or mass of the air fuel mixture that is actually getting into the engine during the suction stroke. So if I try to take this particular ratio, we'll get what is called as volumetric efficiency. So you might have heard of. So what is the method of increasing this volumetric efficiency? Okay, so the new methodologies which has come. So one such methodology is the supercharge. Okay, so supercharging, even though it depends on, see, what will happen is we are going to have this particular super, so we are going to supply the fuel or fuel air mixture at a slightly higher pressure. Okay, that's one methodology of supercharging. So supercharging your air fuel mixture or air so that I can increase. So that is nothing but improve your combustion process so that my output will increase. So that will have an impact on your specific output without actually increasing the speed of the engine. So this is one method of, so maybe this is nothing but your volumetric efficiency. So volumetric efficiency is nothing but what is the amount of volume of the fuel or fuel air mixture that has gone into the cylinder to what would have been its maximum capacity. Okay, this ratio, if you take it actually, we call that as your volumetric efficiency of that particular. So volumetric efficiency will be roughly around 90, 97, 98% for any new engine. Okay, fine. Next thing, thermal efficiency. Thermal efficiency of the engine. What it is actually? It is the ratio of the your brake power or the power produced to the heat supplied. Okay, so the thermal efficiency is something, but usually this is based on brake power. It's also called as brake thermal efficiency. It is based on brake power. That's also called as brake thermal efficiency. It is nothing but the ratio of the brake power or the power available at the shaft or the power available at the shaft to the heat supplied. Okay, this is your heat supplied, which is your QH. Okay, so mathematical I can write it as brake power divided by your mass of fuel supplied to its calorific value. So this is your thermal efficiency. Okay, so what is this mass of fuel? So mass of fuel is actually, it is in mass of fuel supplied, mass of fuel supplied in kg per second. This is a mass flow rate actually. Then CV is the calorific value of the fuel that is used actually. Okay. Now, when you try to take the ratio of it, see, even though I'm trying to burn the fuel, see, mass of fuel into calorific value, even though I'm supplying 100 kilojoules of energy to the engine, but what will be your brake power? Roughly around 40 or 50 kilojoules. So thermal efficiency of most of these your IC engines, if you look at, so it is roughly, it has not crossed 60%. Even though the most efficient engines, what we call maybe in gas power, based on Breton cycle and all, so it has an efficiency of 60%. Okay, now most of the IC engines what we come across, so IC engines what we use actually, so they will be roughly having an efficiency of around 45 to 55%. So 45 to 55%, whether it is an SI engine or a CI engine, so this is the efficiency what we can get actually. Okay, fine. So we'll stop at this particular point today.